Okay, yeah. This is going to be interesting. I am recording feedback on ASD's map Security Alpha 2A with a weird little wireless keyboard to hopefully keep the volume down. So this is the loadout. No, how do you load? Loadout, yes. This is the loadout I ran with. I was using just standard Tomislav, stock shotgun, and my GRU because I was going for sort of a very fast, mobile heavy build, try and catch up with everything moving through the map because it's very small and there's a lot of running back and forth just to find ammo and also keep up with all the enemies. So, you know, starting out we were mostly here, keeping an eye on everything that comes out of bot spawn. I don't think this spawn got used all that much, and would very quickly get pushed back to here and here, cowering from the many soldiers and heavies, trying to shoot them as they come past. And then most of my deaths are when giants came through on the other side of this fence and I couldn't even pop their heads, so I'd either hop up here, potentially exposing myself to spam through here and from enemies in here, trying to shoot across in here, and then you'd get the odd enemy flanking across here, coming through the back and shooting me. The snipers that hide there, which is a very cheeky spot, quite fun to counter, but on a different pop file might be less fun to have to deal with all those snipers coming behind you and stabbing you in the back. You'd get the odd sniper up here. They'd be not too much of a hassle since they don't put out too much damage, but on higher difficulties they could definitely harass you a lot worse. But anyway, yeah, lots of trying to get up here to shoot enemies, quickly running out of ammo, rotating down to get more ammo, and then getting pushed by spam down to here, and then dealing with the enemies that would come through this flanking route to push up to intel through here. And just this tunnel in general is death. It's not a fun place to be. Even with the cover, you can sort of, if there's one or two like samurai demos, you can hop around and chase them if they're not focusing on you. If you're trying to flank through here to somewhere place safe, you've got all these hammer units back to this little safe cubby room, and then you've got to get to the back of the room and up the stairs until you get to the full ammo and health. And these are great pickups, but they are quite out of the way. This spawn door is quite nice. I really like how it's positioned, how it pops you straight out into here and into this nice little sentry shack mid. That's a very nice easy spot to sort of defend because it's in between the choke that most of the enemies push through and the little route they take on the way back once they collect the intel, as well as, you know, lots of enemies come through and drop to get the intel, and you've got a very nice handy quick spot up. So this is a very powerful spot. It's very safe, it's pretty well defended. Most of the enemies just come through here and you can rinse them down. It's a very nice sort of mid-ground to hold when you've been pushed back, and in general is just a really strong spot to hold against everything. I like how sort of closed off and separate this little push up here is. Reminds me of Manhattan, where, you know, all the bots would come through on Manhattan underneath you through the little sort of S-curve in the first big warehouse, and then they'd go around here and come up to the first gate. And, you know, it's a little tricky, the sort of spot here as they filter through the one zone. It would be interesting if more bots sort of pushed up here, though this is very high and quite deadly, even though it only has a very tiny ammo pack. But yeah, if bots use this track more, I could see this spot becoming much less powerful. Don't think I saw anyone use this sort of shelf over here. I know I didn't. While there is sort of some cover, it's far more useful to be jumping straight into the fight. And this sharp sort of turn, like you've got a hard T here, you know, an L around the gate, so all the enemies tend to get pushed up right here, and you've got a nice clean sightline all the way through to their spawn, which is quite powerful, but at the same time, that's a two-way street. You end up getting choked and spammed in here quite hard. And, no, that's not clipped. Okay, yeah, like in here, these nice 32-ish hammer unit 48, hammer unit wide. Corners feel sort of safe to hide behind and shoot, but that only lasts as long as you can put out the DPS to kill whoever comes through before they turn around and destroy you with splash damage. This shelf, I didn't see get a lot of use either. I can see it being probably handy if you're running more engineers. I did notice, you know, we had a lot of trouble figuring out good spots to set up a sentry, and this could be one of those. This again feels a little high to me. I like having nice low spots. I mean, this is probably quite good for defending from splash from all the bots that come through here. Probably an okay spot to defend. I see there's a decent sight line and everything through here, but again, doesn't get a lot of use. I think some of that's this very narrow aisle. Like this whole stretch from this open doorway that overlooks spawn. Like this is a really nice parallel track to the bots. It's very safe for players. It's very separate from everything, but there's a big divide here with the train track that, as I said before, is just death. Particularly if there's a lot of bots. Like the fast scouts all run through here, and they chase me down here and kill me every single time. But while the bot track on that side, there's a lot of cover with the shed and the wall for the choke here, and with like that's sort of why this is the exception, because it's the one spot that doesn't really have a wall between spawn and the actual track that the bots follow. So yeah, sort of one of the main things that sort of pushed me to pursuing this loadout of going for this fast, chasey heavy that's sort of chasing the action and playing as more of a scout than a heavy really is that the sort of safe space that otherwise is a heavy I would use to rotate to quickly deal with enemies, because heavy is so slow and I don't have mobility options like a soldier or even a pyro. I think you could probably Det Jump. I might test that in a bit. Det Jump up through here for a quick rotation. Though, again, there aren't, as I said sort of in the playtest, there aren't a lot of pickups. Like this shed would be a great place for probably a medium health. Full ammo might be strong, because this is a good NG spot, but again, sort of NGs have to rotate around a lot with the sort of layout we have. I do like the sort of little aesthetic touch here of having this sort of officey room we don't have here. It's a good spot for world building, though almost bright enough that I thought that maybe there'd be some gameplay related to that, but it is nice to know that sort of everything on the track is sort of space you don't have to worry about. Like most of how it played is bots push in down the main path, would divide up around the shed, and generally there'd be enough of them and enough health on them that they would get through here pretty quickly and in decent numbers. And sort of because this is so narrow, it's very easy for them to slip down this side, especially since it's not the dominant path. You get the odd soldier, scout, sort of your ad support waves pushing down with, I'm not sure where the snipers came from, but you know, they sort of mingle in and appear here and make this an area, particularly along this trench, and then down here, not a place you'd want to be. The same with here, though that dynamic changes a lot on the cycles when the intel is close to the train hatch deal. So once the intel gets up this ramp to around here, it becomes a very different map where it's very focused on the small loop between just this building in general. Particularly because, you know, it's so easy to push enemies off here. I could see someone having a lot of fun with a short stop scout just pushing the bomb off here because it's such a short ledge, you can just pop them over. I could probably even do it with knockback from boxing gloves. I'm not sure how I could test that on my own here, but I definitely think that's doable. Oh, that isn't how I expected this pocket to work. It's nice having the full pickups here because this is a very tense little rotation. Honestly, with how small the map is and with how many enemies we had, I could see like a pickup being behind every single one of these. Particularly up there, actually, ammo would be very powerful just as sort of a spot to cover here, because while there's a lot of cover, which helps dealing with all the spam we get coming through, though it's mostly scouts we got on the loop through here. Like, because there's so much cover, there's not a lot of places you can shoot out of. So it could be quite balanced if this is a spot that you go up and sort of see where everything's coming through, and because you have to sort of really expose yourself to get a decent shot at all the scouts rushing through. So having like ammo up against this wall, or yeah, probably in around here somewhere, that when you're in, like, you can't see many places to shoot. Like, being able to shoot here isn't going to be particularly useful, particularly if it's the scouts that are pushing through, because by the time I get to here, they're going to be probably on at least 25 health, which is more than enough to deliver the bomb. So, you know, there's decent cover for the bots pushing through here, so you really have to be quick and on your toes, and with a different heavy loadout, I could easily see myself losing a couple of waves just trying to catch up with waves of little scouts, and even those somewhat beefy crit soldiers pushing through here. Like, there's, even with all the whittling you would get done on everything pushing through here, I struggle to imagine what it would be like to deal with a giant having got the intel and got this far, like picked it up, because it's going to be interesting to see the changeovers of the bots that push through here once the intel has got about this far, because then there's much more potential for a giant to come through, pick up the intel and push through here. Like, dealing with a giant scout through here would not be fun unless you are probably a nice mobile demo, sticky jumping through and just bombing, just doing a bombing run through here, or just soldier up, hopping up into there, or even a flog para with a det could probably make that jump. So, you know, for those classes, dealing with this zone would be much more fun, though it's certainly not very strong for a heavy or an NG nest, and I think I like that. A lot of the time with these fences, I'm wanting to shoot through and not, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because I did sort of start to enjoy the dynamic I was explaining earlier of dealing with all the enemies through here, wanting to hide from all the spam, but also help my team that's hiding and sort of camping out the other side of the choke, and deal with this here. And I think the reason why I'm staying in this spot so much is because it's one of those few spots where I know there's a good medium ammo, though, you know, low health, so you're not going to last long in this little corner. But it's interesting to hold for those few seconds you get to hold it. And again, sort of trying to push back through here. Once I get pushed back through here, I really do just end up dying, because pushing it down around here, like, there's not a lot of opportunities to shoot while I'm retreating for health, and even then, I can't actually see this health pack on my way through, which leads me to forget that it's here. If it was here, I might have less of that. Like, I'd be panicking over there, turn around, oh, there's a health pack here, I'll drop down and rotate this way. But because you've got this train sticking out, that sort of, you know, that flow sort of pushes me back this way. I'm not taking the rather nice looking little pocketed scaffolding in here. Like, this looks like a really neat spot to hold, but definitely not as heavy, particularly because, you know, you'd need to expose yourself and get down. There's no health in here. Maybe I'd feel differently if there was a dispenser in here, but there's not much I can do from in here. Generally, if I'm retreating, I'm already pushed back to here to sort of try and get a decent spray to take out a few enemies while they're looking elsewhere. Try and take out a few to help my team out, and then I want to come through here and rotate back up to the choke, but because I'm not a soldier, I can't just pop straight up there. I'd have to maybe come up these stairs, exposing myself for a long time to any spam coming through this way that are probably attracted in my retreat, and then either push back to the full health, or, well, no, MVM, there are no resupply lockers, so diving into spawn, unless I do like a quick swap on my loadout, I'm probably not going to get any health back just from ducking back into spawn. So it sort of limits me to going back this way, walking all the way to this health pickup, not seeing what's on the other side. I did say in the playtest, sort of having a nice big window here would be great. Sort of a nice use of this wall here as well might make me consider using it more, because I'd see it more. I'd get a nice view of what's going on in this well-defended area, and seeing sort of what's pushing through if there's a giant coming through, because they were pretty beefy, you know, they do just sort of barrel through a decent distance, so I'd see, oh, there's a big soldier here, and Scout, Demo, and Pyro on him. It's about a third of his health, so he's probably going to drop down this way. So I'm going to want to come out of that safe zone and drop down into intel, get a nice overhead here, and clear this space, sort of watch this window for a bit, maybe drop down, clear here, stand on the intel a bit, pick up some ammo, deal with things, pop up, and try to rotate back around. But rotating from here back around to that safe zone, actually your best bet really is taking this ramp, which is very convenient for keeping this zone nice and safe. You know, you drop through here, clear out intel, push back out, and then hold up here until someone pushes through down low again. But it would be nice to get a sort of lay of the land from this area. But I feel part of the reason it's so underused is because it is a big room. You've got to go back quite a ways to get up this ramp, and then once you get the pickups, lovely, tasty, yum, just you have to expose yourself out here. You're probably not going to get shot much, but you have to walk all the way out here again before you know what's going on in here. And if you then realize, oh, I need to be in intel, you're going to be either dropping down here and probably getting destroyed by whoever's pushing through here, or following the dominant bot route and getting in here. Though generally the team would be holding a choke around in here, or would have a nest in here and everyone's sort of defending in here, and then I can come around this corner and watch the little intel marker and get a nice satisfying pop on generally whatever small bot's got the intel. And of course, you know, the indicator also tells us if it's a large bot, so I got no problems with not seeing what's on the other side of this wall. I like the surprise, and I also like to surprise them. I did notice in the playtest, I think, yeah, it looks like I can't really shoot through this gap when it feels like I should, and there's also no visual feedback on where the bullets go, which is a little confusing when there's such large gaps. I do like the aesthetic of this little pallet rack sort of deal, even though there is only one. Though the shape of this particular room is quite neat. Particularly, I did see ASD did a little demo hop over here and just took out the intel carrier, which looks really useful and a really nice little trade, particularly since there isn't much health in that zone or this zone. Though I still like, which is partly why this room up in here is quite sort of dead space. It's like it's completely enclosed. It's not a space you know anything about, and it seems like if anything slipped past and has ended up in here, it's probably not going to be. It's probably slipped through much more, and it's going to be like two giants and a giant medic. It's not going to be something you're going to want to deal with yourself. So any sort of flanking through here, like this feels like a route that is just for the bots. Like it surprises me that there's a little health pickup in here, because that feels almost like a joke, because if you're in here, I feel like you're going to get destroyed. Like that's the route that the big team of bots, that just giants that have got the intel and have snuck around your team. Like I can picture some giant, a team of like giants just sneaking through here, getting the intel while your team's dealing with the dominant route, and popping out of this door while we're having fun defending here and haven't heard many of the sirens about the intel, and then we just see some massive beefy boys drop down off this shelf and just roll on back to the hatch. Like that, I could see that being very fun and interesting as well. But yeah, that's sort of what I feel like this route will end up being for, particularly because of the height. Whatever comes through here is going to hurt. I think that's about all the thoughts I have to give in the map. I do like this little hop up here. Like the spaces and sort of the connections do feel nice and interesting, but this valley here does feel quite intimidating. I feel like the reason you've gone for this texture here is also because whenever I've tried to use sort of the track textures that have the divots and everything built into them, they sort of have this width that they look best at, and that isn't a width that really plays well. Having, you know, two trains tied together, sort of probably tied back to the design of well and how the trains are spaced out there versus wanting to have this nice 2-wide track. And while it is nice to have not, like, it's not a huge valley, but it's still pretty intimidating for how bare, like, particularly this patch in here is, from this pillar to the doorway here. Like, this is a very intimidating space, and this ramp here does not feel like a safe way to evacuate out of there. And while this door is sort of useful, it is the narrowest of the bunch, and it's also quite high, which means if you're up on this ramp and there's enemies in there, you can sort of safely shoot in. But I can even see over here, which feels like too much, but sort of the narrowness of the door doesn't make it feel very safe to push through. It makes it feel like it's going to be very splash heavy to push through, and also bots can just light us up before we really get to push in. So if we're having to retreat from here, we have to retreat quite a ways, and we will probably end up getting massacred, because the only health we can get is way back here, unless we do some loadout switching tricks in resupply, because there's no resupply cabinet. And sort of, like, I like this door, but I don't really like this pocket. Like, this feels safe. It sort of reminds me of the stairways in the flanks on Power Water, the 3CP that got added in 2018. That, yeah, it has like the flank that's all tiled and has the windows that overlook sort of the lobby, each side's lobby. You know, lots of engineers would just bulk up in here and then destroy anyone trying to push through here. But, you know, it feels like a nice safe place to push out here, to pop out into the main loop. Like, it feels like a great safe opening, but I feel like maybe it should be closer to here and not part of spawn. Just sort of make it so you can safely come from here to push down here. You get a view of what's going on out here, but you're not exposed to the fire yet, and you can quickly push out here and deal with whoever's pushing the bomb. Like, you'd chase after the bomb carrier, push them off, and then deal with them as they rotate back up. Like, I can see that being a bit more fun, but a lot of that will depend on, you know, when the rounds bring the intel carrier this far, like in terms of difficulty and everything. You're not going to see that a lot, but from what I played of just being in this loop and dealing with enemies, like sort of the rotation of chasing through, making sure they come off, killing them off here, and then rotating up to some nice high ground to get a good lay of the land, and then take out whoever's pushing in. Like, I got 3 points along the track, nice and easy to follow as they come in. I can deal with them, and tracing that line also draws me to, oh, there's full ammo. I can rotate back here when I'm running low, and then pop out and deal with them as they come through. Like, that's a really nice mini gameplay loop sort of thing, of chasing through here, watching the tower, and then rotating back for my ammo, which, you know, exposes me, but also gives me some decent sightlines to very quickly react. If I see they're about to deliver the bomb, I can very quickly pop out, take the risk, deal with them, pop back for the health, get a nice clear assessment with a bit of, like, I'm exposing myself, but I'm getting a nice clear view of what's coming down the track from here, and then I can either push back up on the ground if it's a giant or something, or if it's just a couple of low HP enemies, I can sort of risk not dishing out that DPS and just rushing up here and then getting a nice view to take them out as they come in, while I wait for the rest of the team somewhere else to well, actually no, because the bomb's here, so yeah, I'd hope the rest of the team's probably somewhere else getting the numbers down so there aren't too many enemies to deal with in this loop, because that could get rough fast. Like, I'd imagine maybe clearing out this ramp with a sentry nest or something, but sort of the loop from this little sort of watchtower here to the ammo around the hatch is really fun and satisfying. And sort of that feeling of the valley being death works really well for this zone, because, you know, you drop the enemies down here and you're like, okay, we don't deal with that, we deal with them when they come back up. We just spam down in here, we don't deal with this valley. And sort of the dark color and everything to it sort of, and, you know, it constantly being cast in shadow does help reinforce that and communicate that really well to players, as well as the light here sort of leading you to safety. Though I feel like I was the only one on my team that used this. I didn't see many others use it, and sort of the only reason I really used it is because I decided sort of before the playtest started, I'd take a nice little explore of the map, because I could see it's small and thinking about the intel mechanics, I figure, okay, there's no bomb, the intel's out here, so the bots are probably going to collect it and take it back to their spawn, which isn't 100% on the money, since they actually go to that sort of train there, which, being a custom model, it does draw your attention, and the windows out there, you know, they draw your attention to, hey, this is important, especially the big blue indicator when the hatch is open here, though that's a little confusing since that's traditionally the indicator for engineer spawns. You still know, oh, this is important. My first thought is, you know, bots are going to come from here, which sort of made me wonder, why isn't there a drop through here to sort of try to deal with both spawns at once, at the risk of exposing yourself by being out in that big kill box that is sort of the bot lobby here. Like, I could imagine, like, you know, dealing with things back here. Oh, that's the sniper trench. Okay, we got enemies here, and then you pop through here and deal with bots that spawn in here. No, bots don't spawn in here. Bots return. Bots drop the bomb here. Like, it's an interesting twist on MVM to have that sort of U shape of bots collect ammo, bots come back, and then we have this mini loop that's a very nice, satisfying size to deal with the hatch as sort of its own separate game, separate from the rest of the map, which is sort of this two-fort bridge to intel sort of deal, though with far less turns of enemies push through, they drop down a way you don't want to follow, they collect the ammo, they come back out, you shoot them in the face, and you deal with the rest of this wave coming in. Occasionally you turn around and hit them, which is sort of why defending in this area and this area are such nice spots to hold, because you get from here, you know, once the damage has pushed you back, this is a very isolated island, but you've got your pickups right here, and you've got a nice spot to deal with all the spam and all the bots that are coming through here. And once you get pushed back from this choke, which you will pretty quickly, because, you know, you'd have to push up to take the health and recover. So to hold it, you really need to be sort of really holding up to here, or even sort of up to this side of the fence, you know, potentially forcing some enemies down that trench to deal with later. You know, you get the numbers down here and you sort of control here, maybe with a dispenser here or something. You'd have, you know, your medic backing you up, and, you know, some of your other teammates using these pickups here, and then you'd hold this spot until they sort of push you back, or some flankers come through and collect the intel. Then you would move back to here, so you'd have a nice safe spot for your healing up and your pickups here, though it'd be a dispenser, and then you can just fire on the enemies as they push through this dominant route. Keep an eye out here and just pop around anyone coming through to the intel. You get the audio and the HUD notification for the intel being picked up, then you know, okay, they're going to take a nice slow walk up these stairs, and then we get them in this hallway. And then, you know, you just hold here for a nice long time. Though the particulars of the wave did make sure we couldn't hold at, like, this wasn't a totally dominant strategy. It doesn't work 100% of the time. It is a situational spot to hold. It's only for that period when that choke's a little too rough to hold, and you've got lots of enemies either pushing through the flank or just some big beefy boys breaking up your defense, making their way through here and getting that intel and coming around. Sort of, it's while the intel's sort of from here to here and big beefy boys are coming through here to here is sort of when you would want to use this space. But otherwise, you know, which is why I think it'd be interesting to have bots coming up through this big room and pushing out again, because it forces you to get out of that spot. Like, I feel like there was only one case where we were chasing a handful of scouts around the loop, which was satisfying for those numbers and sort of not having too much of a sense of urgency, but definitely a sense of urgency of, oh, they're close to the hatch, we need to protect it. Like, I do feel like sirens going off while it's in this zone would be important for communicating to a team that's not paying attention to the HUD or where the intel is as much back in this area. And part of that is that sort of beyond the HUD, there isn't much to tell you where the intel is. Like, there aren't a lot of windows. If you could see across here, you might have a better chance of seeing the particles and everything and seeing, oh, there's a bunch of enemies pushing through here, they must have the intel here, because there's no other reason for bots to be running through here unless they're about to deliver the bomb. And often they're fast, which means, you know, you've got to be on your toes around here, or they're big giants, which means if there were windows here, you know, you'd have a big clear view of, oh, that giant soldier has the intel, we need to get out here and stop that big slow boy before he blows us all to hell. Yeah. But yeah, the rotations are quite fun once you get used to them. Once you realize you can't really rely on this trench, having to rotate around this nice safe shed and having to hop off and almost a one-way. Like I had to crouch jump to get back up this way, and you know that's not very safe because I'm going over this deadly valley. You know, this is a nice quick way to deal with this choke quickly, or I can hop off the other side and join my team here, which generally means to be a medic and a dispenser, and I won't have to worry about too much about pickups, and we'll be sort of locked into this zone, and we can just deal with this. Which, you know, I feel like it was maybe a deliberate choice with the lighting here to show this clear line, sort of delineating the two nice safe zones to sort of hold indoors, and it was quite fun how the map sort of teaches you what are the zones that are best to hold, what's a slow and painful flank you don't want to deal with. Like, I didn't use that much. Occasionally I did, but it's sort of when there's nothing going on in here and I'm really low on pickups, because I know the big pickup is through here, you know, I'll just flank this way, I'll grab the big pickup, and then I'll hop across this bridge and get back into the fight. And that's sort of a very satisfying loop, just to know, okay, I hop across this bridge and I either hop onto this side or this side and join my team, and we'll hold that spot and push back up to really hold them back, so you know we're on top of where the bots are and we're not too worried about the intel. Like, this is the spot for deal with everything before it comes through. This is the spot for they're close to intel or they're pretty beefy, we need a lot of cover. Which is probably why not being able to rotate straight up this way makes a lot of sense, because you don't get, if you're really holding the choke, you don't know what's going on down here, particularly because they're not giant bots coming through here. They're generally just small squads of crit soldiers or samurais. Like, I didn't ever see it from up this side, but I do know a lot of the large scouts would come through here, but generally when we'd come out of spawn to up here, we'd have a decent idea of when those are coming through, but only because we were holding here and then get pushed back. Like, there's no line of sight across here to know what's going on up here, so players really don't know what's going on in that trench, and that definitely works in the bot's favor in a way I sort of like, where they can flank us and surprise us and force us to rotate so that we don't get stuck. Like, it is sort of a very dynamic map. You do have to rotate a lot, and I do really like that about the map, and that's sort of where being small works in its favor. But where being small doesn't work in its favor is it forces you to jump between all these pickups. Like, you're sprinting around, and pickups are not easy to grab on your way. You really have to sort of go out of your way to heal up as you're chasing whoever has the flag or wherever the big bot that we need everyone on deck to deal with is. And some of that comes from the pop file we played with, but I feel like that is going to be something to look out for later in development as well. Okay, ending this clip here, and I might do some commentary over the demo or something else. Oh wait, first, nope. I need to check that pyro jump. Yes, I got a score shot. Oh yeah, one other thing I noticed in the playtest is I tried to Det Jump up here, but I can't. And I don't know if that was deliberate, but projectiles just go straight through this displacement. I don't know if that's to deny demo man their sticky traps, but it is quite confusing, particularly because there's no visual feedback to the player. But, you know, it'd be really great if I could just hop up here as a pyro, but I can't. And that is a little annoying. I'm not sure why that's going on, if that's a deliberate choice or if that's a bug. It does look like pyro could make this jump. Yep. I'd probably be doing better on my other keyboard, but yeah, that's definitely a nice quick rotation. It does cost a fair bit of health, particularly if you mess it up like I did, which could happen if you're getting juggled by other bots, but definitely as a different jumping class, like, it'd be a nice, simple, quick rotation to get back up here and join that fight, because it is sort of an important fight to be holding this area, though it's also not the end of the world if you lose it, which is why I think it'd be really interesting to have some of the beefier enemies, once they come through here with the intel, rather than being here and easy to deal with, sort of grind their way past us and make their way up into here so we can't deal with them, to sort of force us to push against the flow here and hold here to sort of surprise them and catch them before they drop down, to sort of force us to rotate up to here and then rotate back. I think that could be some interesting rotations for like higher level player, when people really have the loadouts and everything figured out against the waves, where they're probably going to end up spending most of their time back here. Like they're going to maybe start out on the island here, deal with some pesky trouble, deal with whatever's going down this route the best they can, and then they'll hold here, and then, you know, they'll let themselves get pushed back a bit to here, and then they'll just stay here. Like they'll look down, they'll deal with the trench occasionally, they'll deal with whatever's down here. That might not happen just because of how the verticality and everything sort of forces Scout to work in different ways across the map. Like part of the reason why you might not want to deal with stuff in the trench early, while it's easy to spam from up here, you can't collect what they drop. That could change with Engineer, maybe. I'm not sure if Engineer works. I know Sniper, you know, you take out the enemy and you don't have to go collect the money, but you know, a Scout having to live in this trench and collect up ammo for a team that's dominating up there might happen with a team that's really optimized their build around the way they deal with the map. I'm not sure how to say that, but like a team that really has things locked down, like they've planned out every single bot and how to deal with every single bot. Like if they just camp up here and shoot down there, and they have a Scout that lives in the trench and catches everything in the gutter while they deal with the ammo up here, you know, and then rotates back up here for health somewhere. They can't really push back up here. That might change if there was pickups here, or well, can't really have, maybe like on this ledge, or they drop down to get the small health here. I'm not sure. Like there aren't many places to rotate out for health here, and after all the damage you take, sort of the best one ends up being going through here, taking the long walk and grabbing the medium health pack, which it isn't fun because it takes you out of the action for so long. Like it's safe. No enemies are going to chase you if you go that route, but it feels sort of unsatisfying because you can't even see the fight from there, and you feel very cut up from it. Anyway, yeah, I think that finishes my running around the map and talking about it. I might just call it here. How do I end the video?